What up, YouTube? Welcome back to the RC Plane Addict. I want to welcome new viewers and returning subscribers to a channel where I get to share my passion and addiction to flying RC planes. Before I go any further, I just want to let you know that this is not an advertisement, nor am I being sponsored by anybody, so you can trust the information I give you is not influenced and from the perspective of an amateur pilot. So today I thought I'd go over some technical information and how to using the brand new NX8. This is an awesome transmitter made by Spektrum RC, and you can buy it on Spektrum.com. The link will be down below, and trust me, when you get this transmitter, you will not be dissatisfied. The feeling of it, the lightness in your hand, just how nice and tight those sticks are, everything is just beautiful. But there is so much to it. I mean, the manual has got to be like 50 pages long, at least in English. So with that being said, I have a quick how-to tutorial on just starting up and binding, which I'll put in the link below. But today I thought I'd share with you some more advanced features that I like to use with my 4-channel airplanes. Check this out. All right, guys, so what I'm going to show you is how to set up your plane to have flaperons. Now, why would you want flaperons? Flaperons are an excellent option for planes that don't have flaps and are very fast. They come in very hot when you're trying to land them. Flaperons are an excellent option for trying to slow down your plane so you can have slow flight characteristics without losing control of your plane and having a slower landing. So this is a perfect example of a plane that doesn't slow down very well. It's an awesome glider. It is a very fast plane. We're pushing 100 miles an hour on this plane. And this is the EFX Racer sold by Hobby King. It's flying on 4-cell power. I have the battery here. This is nothing more than a Nanotech Turnigy. It's a 1.8 milliamp hour or amp hour 4-cell. And I have an Orange RX 6-channel receiver in the plane. So what I'm going to show you how to do is set up flaperons on this plane. Now, flaperons will not kill your plane. It's not going to destroy anything. There are a few changes you're definitely going to have to make. So the very first change is when you set this plane up, it's obviously out of the box as a 4-channel, as are most planes that do not have flap systems or gear. So what you need to do is you kind of have to rewire the plane so that the flaps are not on a Y connector, but now are individuals. And you could do this one of two ways. You can add an extra wire to the servo on one of your ailerons, it really doesn't matter which one, and plug it into your aux channel here on your receiver. So I'm not certain if you can see that, but right there at the very top is my aux, and that has a lead into it. And one of those leads goes into one of these ailerons. I'm not sure which one it is. Like I said, it doesn't really matter. The other way you could do it is if the plane has a spliced wire, you would have to obviously unsplice the wire or disconnect it at some point and then reconnect another wire, and then, like I said before, connect one of your ailerons into the aux channel, and that's what you're gonna have to do. So that's pretty simple to do. Then of course you want to rebind your plane and make sure that it is bound to your receiver, and then you're gonna have to get into your NX8 and start playing with the configurations. So here is my NX8, and it has the EFX Racer already selected. So I'm gonna go into my system settings here. And before I do anything, I obviously want to make sure that my plane is unplugged, and it's always a good idea to take off the prop so that when you do start playing with the settings, you don't chop yourself up automatically. All right, so back into the system settings. We're gonna go into system setup, and then I'm gonna go into the the aircraft type. So obviously when you bind this originally, your model type is going to be set on plane. You can give your model name. Obviously I've named this one EFX Racer. And then you're going to go into your aircraft type. Now the wing is going to be set to Flaperon. Normally it is on normal, and you'll have to just basically find Flaperon. Okay, like I said before, don't worry, we're not messing with anything on this plane just yet as far as how it's going to fly normally versus Flaperon mode. Okay, the tail is normal. I'm not playing with that. It still has its elevator, it still has its rudder, so we don't need to play with that. And then I'm going to back out. Okay, so there you go. Now, obviously, you're going to want to turn on your aircraft, and you're going to want to make sure that your ailerons are turning in the correct direction. So to do that, we are going to face our aircraft away from us. I'm going to plug this bad boy in and make sure that it does bind properly. Okay, so there you go. My ESC told me that I am bound, and as you can see, I have a steady glowing light on my receiver, so that does mean that it is receiving a signal, so that's all good. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check my ailerons. So if I turn left, my left aileron should come up, and my right aileron should go down. Likewise, if I turn right, or push the stick right on the right-hand side, my right aileron should go up, and my left aileron should go down. So there you go. Up, down, and then up, down. Now, if for some reason this is reversed, it's a very simple fix. You just go into your servo setup, you kind of turn your travel into reverse, and then you kind of just go into your aileron settings, and then you hit the reverse, okay? Very simply put. Okay, the next thing we're going to want to play with is the Flaperons. So now your Flaperon settings are going to be in your flap systems. So this is how I have my flap system set up. I've designated a switch by going to the switch setting and then kind of picking the switch I wanted. I put it on switch D, which is right here in front, and that's usually where I put my flaps on 5 or 6 channel airplanes anyway. So it's a good kind of like technique or strategy with any kind of transmitter that you have to kind of use the same switches across all of your planes, so you don't start confusing yourself like with, say, gyro or throttle cut or gear. Okay, so on all of my planes, the flaps are this D switch, so that's what I've done there. I've selected the D switch. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to obviously want to play with my positions. So right now I have 32% on position 1, so if I hit down position 1, you're going to see that my flaps come down, or my ailerons in tandem, they both go down. Now, don't freak out, they still work as they would normally, okay? The only difference is now, instead of being in the neutral position, they're both down, which is going to give the wing a little more lift. It's also going to slow the plane down some, and that's exactly what you want. You want to be able to have lift at slower flight so that you don't drop out of the sky or drop a wing. This plane does not have that characteristic. I never really am worried about that. So again, just try to learn how to fly your plane before you set up your Flaperon systems, so you understand how the glide slope is, how it flies fast, how it flies slow, and then you can kind of start to slowly get this in. Now, as you can see, it had a very slow kind of downward motion, and the reason for that is because I set the speed at 6 seconds. Okay, so normally when you do this, your speed most likely will be at normal, and normal is like a big jump. And what happens is when you have your plane flying and you go into these Flaperon mode settings, if you drop it down in normal, your plane has a chance, a very high chance, of ballooning or popping up, and that's not something you want to happen. So for example, now it's on normal like this, and I'm going to show you what happens when it pops. So it literally just drops down, and that's not something you want. You want something a nice, slow, gradual kind of deal. So again, for every switch setting, you're going to want to make sure that your speed is set. Now, you could do it one of two ways. You can have all of them the same. So for example, this one is going to be at 6 seconds. Okay, and then if I go down again, another drop, you're going to see that now my position 2 is at 67%, which means that I'm going to have a much steeper incline on my Flaperons. And I've already named it landing flaps, and the reason for that is because at this angle, it's really going to start slowing down your plane, but you're also going to start losing some, I guess, motion. Again, when you're doing this and you're flying, you're going to want to test this a few mistakes high, just to see how your plane is going to react, because not all planes are going to act the same with flaps. Probably why they don't have flaps in the design, but that's okay. So like I said before, if this is too much of an incline, okay, as you can see here, it's actually dropped down a good bit, then you can just play with it on the other setting. okay? Which is gonna have it basically right back up a little bit more. And like I said before, that's at 32%, okay? So those are the things that you can do. And as you can see here, I have 6 seconds on position 1, which is my takeoff flaps, I call them, and then 6 seconds on landing flaps. Now, the position 0 has a different speed, and the reason for that is when I want to get out of this fast, or I want to kind of like taper off, I want to be able to do it faster. So that's at 1 second, and they don't pop up, as you can see, so I'll show you that again. So that's from the full down position at 67%, and then going straight up to normal mode. You can see it kind of still takes its time because I did set it at 1 second. And again, I like the kind of gradual up and down, faster for going up, slower for going down. The reason being, again, I don't want the ballooning when it's going down, and I want to be able to get out of it really fast, but without like a major, I guess, change. Major changes at slow speed kind of lead to disaster. So again, you're going to want to kind of learn your plane before you play with these types of Flaperon systems, okay? And then obviously start adding these things slowly as you already know how it flies after a few flights. The other thing I should mention is that there is an elevator setting here on the remote. Now, as you can see, they're all 0. And the reason for that is because I haven't really played with this plane much in Flaperon mode. And if you notice, there is a lot of ballooning, whether it's on the first step or even on the second step. You can have a mixing of your elevator in the down. Remember, when you drop your Flaperons, the plane will tend to balloon. So to counteract, you put in a little bit of down elevator. Now, I should also mention that you can use your flap systems to set up spoilers. Now, spoilers are the opposites of flaps. Instead of coming down, they go up. And the reason for spoilers is to, again, slow down your plane. However, it will not increase the lift on your plane. So chances are you're gonna start dropping. And that's okay. Maybe you do wanna just slow down and you're not too worried about that because you have a very large wing. So if you want to add spoilers to your plane, you would do the opposite of flaps. Instead of a positive, you can go negative. So I'm just gonna kind of show you how to do that. So this is my landing flap and this is my, Flaperons. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into my position 2, which is all the way down, and I'm gonna turn that now into my Spoilerons. All right, so instead of doing positive 67%, I'm gonna go into the negatives. And as I'm turning this, you can see that my flaps are slowly coming up, right? To obviously where it's now zeroed. So that's zeroed. Normal mode, right? But if I go in the opposite direction, check it out, now they're going up. And now I have what are called Spoilerons, okay? Where they still act like ailerons, but they're in now both an up position, which is now going to increase drag on the wing, but decrease lift on the wing as well. So you're going to end up with kind of like a dropping situation. And the weird part about Spoilerons is it almost puts your plane into like a high alpha position, where now it's actually using the body to slow itself down along with the wing. So you kind of have like a double negative to help you slow down the plane. Again, I would be very careful with using this, especially if you haven't done it before, and I would probably test this setting a few mistakes high, just so that if something bad happens, you can quickly flip the switch, go right back to normal, throw on the throttle, and you're out of your problems, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna change my position 2 back into the positive 68 because I wanna keep it as a Flaperon setting. I'm just gonna quickly turn that dial again, all the way back into positive 68. And now we're done. And now test it again. So flipping the switch down. Nice and slow. 6 seconds on the speed. Okay. And then coming back up. 6 seconds back into that. And then coming all the way up. 1 second. And that 1 second is for both settings. So if I'm all the way down to that 67% or 68% and flip it up, she'll jump right back up, okay? Likewise, with my takeoff flaps that I call it, and switch it back up, it'll come right back up. Now again, the speed is completely preference, okay? If you like it to go faster, you change the speed. If you want it slower, you change the speed. There is really no hurt in having, more speed or less speed depending on the way you're flying. More speed, an increased speed, okay, where you have instead of 6 seconds, 8 seconds, or 9 seconds, gives you a slower drop down. The smaller this number, like 1 second, is going to have an increased speed rate on the direction of these guys moving. So that's just something, you know, you could play with as a matter of preference. Okay, so that is how you set up a 4-channel airplane so that you have Flaperons.
Take off flaps. Landing flaps. Normal mode.
Okay. As with all of my planes, I should also mention that I do have dual rates. So I'm just going to quickly show you how I set up my dual rates. My ailerons are usually on this E channel here. And what I do is I have 100%, I have 75%, and I have low rate with expo at 30% all around. This plane needs to really fly on low rates all around because of its speed. Remember, the faster your plane is going, the smaller the movements on those flight surfaces, because it's gonna like basically have a more, I guess, a greater impact on the way the plane flies. Same with my elevator. I usually fly that on the C channel here on the side. And as you can see, my high rate's at 100, my mid rate's at 85, and my low rate's at 50, and 30% all around. And again, on this plane, I fly elevator low and I fly aileron low. The rudder, however, I don't really change. The rudder I kind of usually keep at 100% for most of my planes with 30% expo, and it's usually on this channel if I want to change. But again, I don't really have anything going on with the rudder. It's just at 100% expo, 100% rates with 30% expo, so that if I'm knife edging, I have that rudder input, or if I want to do some like crazy maneuvers, like, I don't know, barrel rolls or any other kind of, I guess, stunt, I have that full rudder at my disposal. Okay, so as you can see, that's how much my rudder moves there, which isn't too crazy. All right, the next thing I want to show you is how to set up your NX8 for using in a simulator. So if you have seen my other video, and I'll put it in the link below, where I fly the Real Flight 9.5 simulator by eFlight, I'm using my NX8 and I don't have any extra cords or any special settings. I just plugged the USB into the back and straight into my computer and turn on my transmitter. And the way I do that is first by setting up a brand new model select, and then what I do is, you know, just so I don't forget, I call it Real Flight 9.5, very simply put. Okay, once you have the Real Flight 9.5 on, probably should unplug this first. You're going to go ahead and you're going to want to put it into its simulator mode. And the way you do that is kind of scroll all the way down here, okay, to where you can get to USB settings, okay, USB settings. And this is just in the regular system setup. So if you forget how to get there and you're here in the normal mode, you can just...
Flaps up, throttle cut, low rates, low rates.
I have a lot of switch settings. You can just click in, okay? And then you get to your function list and kind of scroll all the way down here. Go to system setup. And then go all the way down to your USB settings, okay? Once you're there, you're gonna turn the mode to game controller. And that's gonna basically turn off the transmitting function on the antenna, okay? And it's gonna turn this into a signal that your computer can understand through the USB in the back. And then once you have that set, you get back into the flight mode, you make sure this is on, you plug it in here, you plug it into your computer should recognize this as a game controller right away, and then you can go ahead and fire up Real Flight, and it's as simple as that. Alright guys, so there you go. That is how to set up the NX8 for Flaperons and Spoilerons, and also how to use your NX8 as a game controller if you want to use it with Real Flight 9.5 or any of those other versions. So I really hope you guys like this video, and if you do, show me it by giving me a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my content, hit that subscription button and maybe the bell notification if you want to know when I upload some new stuff, which is usually every Friday around 1 p.m. And if you have any comments or suggestions on more content, please give me some comments in the comment section and let me know. Other than that, have a great day, guys. Happy flying.